The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Okay, good morning, everybody. Welcome to day 3 of TopSolid 2021 updates. Today we are going to be focusing 100% on TopSolid'Cam. We're going to start with this morning's session focusing on improvements to drillings. As usual, there is a question bar. You guys can ask all the questions you like. We may even answer some of them. Depends on how Joe is feeling this morning, whether he wants to answer you guys or not. Okay, so I think everybody that was registered is signed in, so that's cool. So let's get fired off. So improvement number 1 is, or has to do with toolpath optimization for drillings. Reorganize some things here. So rule of thumb, all of the drillings that you're going to optimize need to be the same primitive, same tool, same work coordinate system, same part. Okay, so what does that mean? All of these holes had a centering operation, for example, applied to them, right? And if we turn them all on, you can see they're doing what they do operation by operation. So what the new improvement is you select all the operations, you right mouse button click on it, go to optimize, and you can choose optimize similar operations. And now the solution is going to go through and it's going to reorder the drillings and optimize them as one, call it master operation. And there's the final result. So it's all you have to do. If you ever want to remove something from there, right click on it, go to optimization, remove from optimization. Now it's separated. If you want to remove all the optimizations, right click on the parent level there, remove optimization. If there is a drilling you want to add after the fact, okay, we can add operations to optimization. And it will just go right to it. Okay, so that is improvement number 1 for drillings, toolpath optimizations. It works for all drillings. Again, they have to be consecutive, but then you can go through and you can just optimize everything into simpler global operations. Moving right along. Next one has to do with back countersinking with reverse chamfer mill. Bring my notes over here to talk about this one for a second. So with regards to back countersinking using a reverse chamfer mill, as you can see, you can outperform a back countersinking operation using a reverse chamfer mill with a rigid insert. The positioning parameters of the tool can be adjusted before plunging into the hole and retracting. This is done in the parameters tab here. The tool will be required to be defined with a rigid insert in order for this to function. So when you are defining your tool, whether it's a tool you've defined or you're using one of our generic tools, you have to make sure you activate rigid insert. Okay? So if we go look at this, we're in the countersinking operation. Back machining is turned on. Okay, if we go into our settings here, back machining is turned on. If we go to parameters, this is where you can control the off-center amount. And if we go ahead and simulate this, get it straight on. So we index, we shift over, we come down, we shift back, and we start our chamfering. Okay? Alrighty. So we will move right along here. Next improvement is countersinking by contouring. So it is now possible to use countersinking by contouring. You can manage the position of the tool, as is the case with the chamfer milling and edge breaking milling operations. And what do I mean? So let's delete the operation. We'll go create a new one. So I'm going to go here, go to drilling, hole machining. I'm going to switch to countersinking. Okay, we can go grab our chamfer mill. And then when we go into settings, notice we have contouring available now. If we activate contouring, you can then control it like you would in chamfer or breaking edges. So for example, I can be off the top edge there, done. And off we go. Okay. Excuse me. Okay, so that's countersinking by contouring. Pretty straightforward. Okay, next, there has been a lot of quality of life improvements for the analysis of drillings and cylinders. First improvement is it's possible, and let me just open this up. It is possible in the sort of drilling views to collapse the tree view when opening the window. So how does that work? If I go to my 2D, 3D and I go here, so now it's going to run the analysis. So see how this opens with everything? So if it's a big part, lots of drillings, it takes longer to generate the list. So if we go into settings here, we can come down to collapse tree view on start, activate it. Okay. And now this time when we go, you see how much faster it loads because the list doesn't have to be dynamically generated there. Next, it is possible to show and hide specific drillings in the analysis. So for example, I could go into here and I can say, you know what, this drilling here, I don't want to see it anymore. So I'm going to hide it, which means it won't be processed as well. I can go here, hide that one. So now we're just down to this one. If we want to see the hidden ones, we can activate that, and you can see they're a different color in the list. And then we can show them, which also means that they are processable. Okay. And then lastly, in your top options here, you have a new ability to sort by smallest diameter and stack. So this will just sort the list from small to large. That's all. Okay. Let's continue on. Okay, this next one is a really cool improvement to the analysis of cylinders and drillings. It allows you to analyze them according to a direction, so you can focus the analysis at the moment that you're running it. So first improvement, let's go into our 2D, 3D. Let's go to analysis of drillings and cylinders. Okay. First, you'll notice it came up with nothing. Why? It's because in my options, under analyses, I have unchecked run the analysis immediately. What this does is if you uncheck this, this means when I go to run the analysis, it waits to analyze until you further set some things up. Okay, so let's go have a look. If I go here, let's show the second improvement, analysis directions. So I'm going to come here and maybe I'm going to use this face as the analysis direction. Then I can come here and do a search drillings and cylinders. And now it's found just the drillings and cylinders relative to that direction, or think of it as relative to that WCS orientation. Okay. Alrighty. No, I don't care. So moving on to repositioning. So we have here a cam part, very, very, very difficult part, right? Where I've drilled 2 holes. From here, I have a repositioned copy of that cam part where I've flipped it over for machining. And now if we go and run our analysis, expand this, notice it knows that those are fully machined already, and it reports them to you that they're fully machined, so that you're not remachining drillings that have already been drilled. Okay, next has to do with limiting the analysis area and associativity. Okay, so I'm going to read some of what the development said on this one. So when modifying an analysis limitation area, the already created relevant drilling operations are replayed according to the new limited area. The effect of this change only applies to the geometries available in the operation. Under no circumstances will new geometries be automatically added or deleted. Thus, these hole machining operations are able to exclude selected geometry holes that were previously included in the limitation area, but are no longer reachable after modification. So, a limited area, and let's go look. Let me make sure if I have any here. Let's start by making a limitation area. So we go here to part analysis limitation. Okay, and I'm going to start by selecting this. Perfect. And now we can go ahead and do a drilling. Oop, got to get out of that mode. Sorry. Now we can go ahead and do a drilling. Pick our tool real fast here. We're going to use our part limited area and search. And let's turn off same depth even and search. Okay, so it found everything that is in that limited area, right? So we're going to say okay. Now from here, I'm going to go to my entities and go to my part limits, right? And just to illustrate the limits it's found, if I turn off the part, those are the drillings it's found, right? If we go and double click and modify this, and I add to this limit, that circle, go okay, go to NC operations, recalculate, and now you can see it's only calculating around the outside because we've added another limit there, which means to ignore those inside cylinders. The reason this functions is because those inside cylinders were part of the original analysis. If I go now and do a part limitation area and I try to add these outside areas, okay, you can see that they're showing up in the limitation area. However, if I go to my NC operation and I rebuild, they're not being taken into consideration. And again, the reason for this is they weren't part of the original analysis. Okay, so we would have to manually add these in now to be considered, or delete everything in here, reselect a hole, and let it reanalyze based on the new constraints. Okay, so that is the changes made to the associativity side of using a limiting part limitation area. Alrighty, let's move on to the next one. Moving right along. Okay, so Next, we are going to talk about things you can do with regards to using limitation curves. Okay, you can use in combination the limitation curves and the bounding planes if you want. Okay, so let me make sure I don't have them. What do I do? Let's delete that one. All right, so if I go to my equipment tab here and I start a new part limitation, and I start by using this boundary here in strict mode. So if I go to my part limits, I select that, I turn off the part. You see strict mode, it's getting only what's inside. If we go and modify this and we turn off strict mode, now notice it's getting what's inside and what's crossing that limitation profile as well. Okay. If we go and modify again, and for example, we add this outer profile, still only going to be what's crossing. If we go and modify again, let's get rid of that outer profile. Let's take our plane and drag it to maybe there. Now it's only getting part. So you can use the limiting planes plus the boundary curves to control your limit areas. Okay. All right. So limited in 1.9 here. I'm going to do this one with a video. Help if I pull it on the screen you guys are watching. So in this one, we're using the limiting area analysis in conjunction with a method. Okay. So let's fast forward this a little bit. We have a couple of different limit areas. You can see we have the part limit yellow. You have that one, and then orange. And now when we go and apply a method, you have the same ability to select which one of these you want to use. Alrighty. So next. So searching for identical manufacturing features in hole machining operation. So if I select a manufacturing feature, I can then search by selecting it, and it will allow me to search for identical manufacturing features. That's it. For those curious on manufacturing features, we are going to be planning a webinar in the near future to talk more in depth about them and how they function and what you can use them for. Okay, lastly, starting altitudes. Let me pause this for a second. So, the management of starting altitudes and drillings and spot facings by contourings and pocketings. In the 714, the safety distance, and here, I can bring this over so you can see what I'm looking at. In 714, the safety distance affected the starting altitude of the drilling/spot facing by contouring and by pocketing operations, which could produce empty passes, like thus. In 715, the safety distance no longer has any influence on the starting altitude of the drilling and drilling spot facing by contouring and by pockets, but it is still active for the drillings. So in 715, you can see no extra passes. 714, you had some extra passes. Let's have a look. Let's go. So we're having a look at the contouring right now. You can see the extra pass. So this was a file open from 714 and 715. So now we're going to upgrade it. We'll recalculate. And now you can see the problem goes away. Okay. Alrighty. So that is the end of updates for drilling. Does anyone have any other questions regarding drillings? Otherwise, we'll see you guys in about an hour and a half, where we'll begin exploring what's new in 2D milling. Thanks for attending, and we'll see you guys soon.